At 93.5, 1590 WAKR. It's time to go to film school. Film study professor Joe Fortunato on board with us on Friday. He joins us each Friday. You can always go back and listen to our film school presentations at WAKR.net. And today, Joe is going to go back to the 60s and look at one of the greatest movies of all time, according to many different lists. And Joe, my friend, take the story from there.
Thanks, Ray. Good morning, everybody. And yeah, I'm super excited about today because we're going to do one of my favorite movies, one of the most decorated movies of all time. That is Lawrence of Arabia from 1962, celebrating its 60th anniversary last month, released December 11th, 1962, directed by David Lean. It stars Peter O'Toole, Alec Guinness, Anthony Quinn, Omar Sharif. It's one of the most decorated Oscar movies ever. It won 7 Oscars, including Best Picture, Director, Cinematographer, Art Direction, Sound, Editing, and Score. It was nominated for 3 more, including Actor for Peter O'Toole. Peter O'Toole actually lost to Gregory Peck for To Kill a Mockingbird, so pretty tough competition for him, and that's why he didn't take home the Oscar. However, the Premiere Magazine called his performance the #1 ranked performance of all time in their magazine. And in 2007, the AFI Film Institute ranked Lawrence of Arabia the 7th greatest movie of all time. It was ranked the #1 greatest genre of epic. And it's just a tremendous movie. Clocking in at a miraculous 3.5 hours, this movie has no women in speaking roles. Wow. That's a very, it's a dubious record, I suppose, but it's reportedly the longest movie not to have any dialogue spoken by women.
Joe, what, I'm sorry, I thought you were going to take a pause there. What makes this movie so good?
Oh, boy. I mean, it's just so many great artists on the top of their game. David Lean and producer Sam Spiegel were a great team. In fact, after the success they had on Bridge of the River Kwai a few years earlier than that, they wanted to work together on a similarly worthy topic, and they were going to consider the life of Gandhi, but they gave up on that. Of course, Gandhi was made in the 80s as another great epic. But just the sweeping vistas in the film, the beautiful cinematography, the incredible editing, the amazing performances, and the great score by Maurice Jarre, all contribute to the amazing, film that it is. In fact, Steven Spielberg calls this his favorite movie of all time, as do a number of other directors. The production cost of the movie, believe it or not, was only $15 million. That's a lot of money then, but pittance today. In fact, it's estimated that it would cost about $285 million to make today. It did make quite a bit of money back on its box office. It made $70 million during its original run. There was some rumors, because of its length, there was some rumors that when the movie came out, that some theater managers would turn down their air conditioning or turn up the heat during the half hour before intermission so they could sell more ice cream and cold drinks.
Okay, so get in. You mentioned the star-studded cast. When you talk about Peter O'Toole and Alec Guinness and Anthony Quinn and Omar Sharif, Jose Ferrer, it's really a who's who cast. Talk about how they put that all together.
Yeah, Peter O'Toole was not the first choice. In fact, they wanted to. There was talk about having Marlon Brando in the cast, but he turned it down. And Albert Finney was their next choice, but they ended up doing a screen test with Peter O'Toole, and he just sort of blew him away. Alec Guinness wanted to play Peter O'Toole's role, but he ended up playing Prince Faisal after Laurence Olivier dropped out of that film. Believe it or not, the movie was scheduled to go into production way back in 1953 with John Wayne in the lead, and that sort of fell apart due to lack of funding. Another interesting casting tidbit, Anthony Perkins from Psycho was considered for the lead role, but when he scored that hit with Psycho, the producer and the director dropped him, fearing that he'd be labeled Psycho of Arabia. And we talk sometimes about being typecast in roles, and there's a good example of that actually happening. Some of the legendary desert vistas and scenes. By the way, I know a lot of people are sort of afraid of this movie because of its length, and it is a challenge sometimes. But I do encourage people who have not seen it to go see it and see it on the biggest screen you can. If that's a big TV or your home theater or whatever. But this is not meant to be seen on a phone or a computer. Talking about the production, Sam Spiegel, the producer, wanted to cost cuts and film in Southern California, but David Lean was determined to film the story where it happened in the Middle Eastern countries. And the production was so massive that 300 local Bedouins wearing sandals were assigned to go out and smooth out the desert sands with palm fronds so that no footprints could be visible in the sand. And they did that after every take. It was also, they used to have paper cups on the set, for the crew to drink whatever. Mm-hmm. And they kept blowing around and messing up shots, so they had to switch to mugs.
It's a film, too, that had a lot of extras in it. When you look at it and the movie itself, when you watch it, the extras and everybody on the set, over 1,000 people involved in the production.
Yeah, it was massive. And, this is before CGI, so all those are real actors and real extras and real horses and real camels and, all that kind of stuff. So it's really a pretty amazing undertaking when you look at it in that regard.
All right, there you go. Lawrence of Arabia. Joe's been looking forward to delivering this to us at Film School for quite some time. As he mentioned, one of the top films, as a matter of fact, the American Film Institute has Lawrence of Arabia number 5 on their top 100. It is a keeper from 1962. Film School with Joe Fortunato, film study professor. Joe, as always, my friend, thank you. We'll reconnect again next Friday.
Thanks, Ray. See everybody later.
Joe Fortunato takes us to Film School on Fridays.